For this project, we wanted to explore how much students knew about matter, the different states of matter, as well as the changing states of matter such as melting, freezing, and evaporating.
No.
You don't know what matter is? Do you think this paper's matter? Do you think your shirts matter?
Well, I think my shirts matter.
You think your shirts matter? And why do you think that?
Because I don't know.
One of our probes was a poster listing the three states of matter, as well as an added element such as heat or cold. If the student already knew what matter was, we went ahead and asked them what would happen in the particular situation, such as putting an ice cube in the sun. So do you know what happens when you have a solid and you add heat to it, like an ice cube? What would happen to that?
It'll melt.
It would melt. Good job. That's exactly what happens. It melts and becomes a different state of matter, right? It becomes a liquid. Our second probe was a worksheet that listed several different examples of objects either melting, dissolving, or neither. Rather than have the students fill it out themselves, we read it out loud, just a few of the phrases to save time. So, what would happen if we put an ice cube in the sun? What would happen to it?
It would melt.
It would melt, and why would it melt?
Because an ice cube is frozen.
Uh-huh.
If you put it in a mold and the freezer, but
Yep.
if it's in not in coldness, then it melts and then it turns into water.
So then what would happen if you took that liquid and put it in a very cold place? What would happen?
It would freeze.
It would freeze, and how do you know that?
Because once I got some water and I put it in the freezer to make ice cubes.
Most of the younger students did not know what matter was and could not name the three states of matter right off the bat. The third grade boy was not able to define matter but was able to connect that heat from the sun was a factor in melting ice. So, do you know why things melt? What does something need in order to melt?
It needs sun.
Sun. Okay, good. And what does something need in order to freeze? Like your ice cream.
In order to freeze, maybe a freezer.
A freezer. Okay, thank you. We then asked the fourth grader the same question.
Yes, and matter is in everything.
Exactly. So, like, would my shoe be matter?
Yep.
Would that tree be matter?
Yep.
Okay, why?
Because everything is made out of matter.
Exactly.
Because everything is made out of something. It would probably melt.
It would melt, yeah, and become what other state of matter?
Probably liquid.
A liquid.
Probably freeze.
It would freeze. And why is that?
Because a liquid can move around, but if you put it inside like a freezer or something, it'll get so cold that it just turns into a solid. It would probably get really hot and boil.
Boil. And then what would happen to that boiling water over time? Do you know?
I know this by experience. Trying to make Jell-O,
Oh.
it evaporates.
The fourth grader, however, was able to define matter and explain her reasoning. She was also correct in identifying from the worksheet which situations were examples of melting.
It would melt.
It would melt.
After time, it probably will, but when you first put it in, it won't just immediately melt.
The kindergartner also did not know what matter was, but did give an interesting explanation of why an ice cube would melt if placed in the palm of her hand. Or not melting?
Melting.
Melting. And why do you think that?
Because if you put your hands like this, which normally people do that, or it just gets hot,
Your hand
and
gets hot.
your hand is hot, so it usually has to be hot.
Okay.
So if you put a ice cube on your hand, then it would slip and then it would melt.
Overall, most kids we interviewed did not really know what matter was or what the three states of matter were. However, when given specific situations where really cold objects were placed in hot environments or vice versa, they did give correct answers. And finally, here is our expert answer. All matter can move from one state to another. It may require extreme temperatures or pressures, but it can be done. For example, a solid can turn into a liquid through the process of melting. A liquid can also turn back into a solid through the process of freezing. In addition, a liquid can turn into a gas by heating it up, evaporation, and turning it into steam or vapor. Finally, a gas can turn back into a liquid through the process of condensation.